Before sunrise, the forest narrows toward one aging oak. At its base, the remains of successful hunts point upward. The predator that cannot leave has left its mark. Within the pellet lies a tiny jawbone, evidence of a fatal. The story shifts into a surfacing hidden information beat of the opening phase. The story shifts into a testing a second approach beat of the opening phase. Continue from scene 5, the story shifts into a shift. The first delivery proves that this arrangement can work. The predator that cannot leave. She remains focused on the clutch, a vigilant presence in the pre-dawn light. The female owl stands vigil, her mate's absence a silent alarm in the pre-dawn stillness. But once that small reserve is gone, everything depends on how soon the next shadow crosses this corridor. The waiting interval that once ended quickly. The scraping now has a source, and it is already committed. The snake loses its grip on the sun-warmed oak, sending bark fibers peeling away as the owl watches from the hollow above. With the external threat gone, the chamber's next demand begins. One shell is opening while two still need heat. Aljanib Kapko. That reduced margin now meets another barrier. The damp membrane will not release. When it finally gives, the chick is free, but the bowl is no longer arranged for incubation. After the bowl is reorganized, a second shell answers from the cooler margin. The hatches are already out of. The second hatch adds another body demanding warmth before the chamber has recovered from the first. The adult settles back, securing her unhatched egg. The chicks tuck close, sharing the warmth. All waits for the final hatch. After the long, still interval, a faint answer finally reaches her from inside the last shell. It is not a hatch yet. The unhatched egg pulses within the damp membrane. Character A settles, keeping the cracked shell exposed. The third shell is not empty. Its smallest occupant has finally reached the air. The adult works diligently to remove the shell fragments, making space for her growing brood. The largest chick and because feeding begins before the youngest can steady itself, the age gap immediately becomes an access gap. And the delayed hatch now becomes a feeding disadvantage, measured in every missed reach. Direct competition fails. A better angle changes access, but not yet the speed advantage of the older chicks. The next delivery arrives before the brood fully settles, extending the brief feeding window. When one older chick becomes satiated, the side root finally produces a real meal. The delayed hatch has become a feeding hierarchy, and the direct route remains closed. Instead of contesting the stronger bodies, that narrow success matters only if the next delivery creates another opening. The mother cannot remove the size advantage, but she can shift where the next chance appears. By day 40, repeated deliveries allow all three chicks to gain, though never from equal positions. The overcrowded brood chamber reveals a clear hierarchy. The adults attend to the prey, while the smallest chick finds itself on the periphery. That side route changes the contest, because timing can now matter as much as height. The morsel disappears. But the opening arrives just as the forest begins to close the delivery route. The adult returns with food, pushing through the narrowing entrance, while above, a silent threat begins to gather. The changing wind has turned the hollow's old stain into an active water path. Her first defense preserves contact. With the delivery route closed, no new energy can replace the heat the storm is removing. The chamber cannot drain fast enough. Each attempted escape route collapses under saturated debris. The larger chicks secure the warm rear pocket, and the youngest is displaced back into the water path. Now the bowl itself begins holding water, removing the last insulating layer beneath the brood. By now, shelter and crowding have become the same problem. The hollow fills with water. The eldest chicks push for cover. The smallest is left beside the channel. The exposed strip now becomes the exact path taken by the rising water. Once the footing fails, the youngest is carried away. It tries to return, but each tremor interrupts the next step. Then the shivering slows and stops. With limited surface area, her body follows the movement that still demands heat. The rain is weakening, but the silence beneath her feathers has become the greater danger. The corridor reopens, and the movement of the stronger chicks creates space for the smallest one. The falling water leaves a measurable record of how little dry space remained. Beneath the wet cover, the first sign is not a call, but a movement small enough to miss. That opening now connects warmth, space, and the returning food chain. And within that narrow space, the route is now open, and this heavy prey can bring much-needed sustenance back to the nest. The female adjusts her grip, leveraging the prey against the damp entrance as the young wait hungrily inside. That temporary space reaches the hidden chick. One toe flexes, and the smallest beak rises into the channel. The adult tears the strip free, offering a chance.
Greedy juveniles surge forward.
Watch the space she leaves. The smallest owl, having navigated the perimeter, accepts the offering from the adult female. She settles beneath her margin. With survival confirmed, the balance shifts from protection toward recovery. Outside, the female owl creates a dry patch for her chicks. The smallest chick moves to the safety of the bark. Once the ledge is used again, warmth is joined by the energy needed to rebuild. Recovery has restored movement, and movement is creating a new limit. The chamber that once protected 3 eggs can no longer contain 1 full juvenile wingbeat. Each attempt now recovery has created a new pressure because the chamber can no longer contain 3 strengthening wings. With the older pair outside, the youngest finally inherits both the empty chamber and the full distance beyond it. The same walls that preserved heat now restrict the wings required to leave them. The final threshold begins with the same unstable bark that once carried danger toward the nest. For now, the Grimins. With the hollow empty behind it, the youngest now tests the same loose bark that once carried danger upward. The first gust does not force a launch. It reveals how much balance must be corrected before release. The last contact with the chamber releases, transferring the entire body onto the narrow exterior grip. The grip releases before the wings can prove they will carry the weight. Below the branch line, the fall continues until the wings finally reach their full working span. The drop is over, but the crossing is not. Once the wings hold, the nest oak begins to fall behind. By dawn, the threshold stands empty, and the altered bark records the departure. Survival was never a promise, only a chain of narrow openings, each reached in time.